Hi, everyone. Welcome to Creative Excellence's Creative Corner. I have four colleagues with me today, and I'll start off with the ladies. I have Megan from Creative Excellence in Switzerland. Hi, Megan. I have Eleanor from the UK. Hi, Eleanor. I have Tyler from the US. Hi, Tyler. And Arnaud de Bier, you've met before, sitting in France. Actually, no, in Switzerland, France. I never know, Arnaud, somewhere there. So the topic of today is Christmas ads, and we've heard a lot about the Christmas ads. It really is an interesting time for advertisers and researchers like us. There've been a lot of things published. We decided to take a look at a few ads, as some of them were our personal favorites. We thought that they had fantastic stories in them, and we wanted to see how consumers in the US and UK reacted to them. So we have Lego, we have the famous Coca-Cola ad, we have the Amazon ad that was in many places, John Lewis, of course, who couldn't miss John Lewis, Tesco, and Coles. So a good balance of brands, a good balance of ads, lengths, and different styles for sure. We used our flagship tool, Creative Spark, which is our newest creative assessment tool, which measures thoughts, feelings, emotions, and to test this performance and to see how people really reacted. And what I could say is that, and we definitely know that the Christmas period has become a lot more competitive. And I almost label it like the Super Bowl of advertising outside of the Super Bowl. And we've certainly seen in the UK is a lot more active and certainly in the US today. So without further ado, let's dig into these 5 key powers that we've identified that can help you leverage not only Christmas advertising, but any advertising. So, Eleanor, the first finding.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the power of you and the power of branding, particularly at Christmas, as Shaun said, with these amazing big productions. It's very nice and easy to make a good film, but shame about the brand. And what we really know is that using distinctive assets that you've built up over time can put your brand into the story without actually having to slap a giant logo on it. So actually, the ad that does that best over Christmas is the Coke ad. Early on, we get a beautiful shot of that classic bottle, the proper glass one, none of these newfangled plastic ones. Uh, but then later on, what we get is the Christmas truck. And we all know that Christmas doesn't start till the Coca-Cola truck arrives. And by putting that in, even in a new format, it wins the branding prize hands down and does it in a natural and easy way for the story. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's a really great one, and totally agree with you, Eleanor, that physical assets are important. The second thing that is important, which is the second power of Christmas, is the power of brand role, which is a key one for great advertising as well, which goes beyond the physical assets, which goes into the direction that your brand within the story needs to have a clear and meaningful role, and you want to make sure that while you remember the ad and the wonderful stories, especially the wonderful stories of Christmas, you get credit. You credit the brand with a meaningful role into that. So let's speak about two examples. One great one is the Amazon one, actually, because if you think about that story of that dancer and oh, actually she gets empowered to do her show in the end because the show must go on even in COVID times. That's all thanks to Amazon and their fantastic delivery service, which still works in that COVID context, that still works around Christmas, whatever the limitation that you have. And if you look in contrast to the latest John Lewis Christmas ad, well, you could think that here John Lewis is a bit more like a sponsor of that story. What is the role within that sharing of hearts that John Lewis has and Waitrose partners? It's a bit unclear. So by contrast, and when we look at these two ads, quite a different performance as well when it comes to brand role. Certainly Amazon doing a much better job here.
So, Tyler, the third driver, the power of drama.
Yeah, and when we talk about drama, it's Christmas time, so why not think about Christmas movies that we like, holiday movies, whether it's like A Wonderful Life, Home Alone, or even Elf. They all kind of set up a premise They provide some tension in the middle, and then they relieve that. So what they're doing is effectively selling the magic of Christmas. If Kevin's family doesn't come home in Home Alone, it's not a great movie. But they conclude the story and really sell that magic. So if we think about the advertising the same way, they really have the same goals. They want to engage people. They want to show them something that's either inspiring, motivating, particularly around the Christmas season, around the holidays. So what works for one should work for the other. So we see that ads that use that kind of dramatic storytelling are 30% more likely to be persuasive. They break through better, and they in turn are some of our top performing ads. And Kohl's is a great example. That their ad "Give with All Your Heart" this year, it's a story about a friendship between an odd friendship between a young girl and an elderly neighbor. It really makes you feel the tension of not knowing if things are going to be all right. So it does fit with the relevance of everything that's going on in the world. But then it ends with like a joyful reunion that really delivers on the girl's Christmas wish, and that's granted. So the message at Kohl's understands these unique times. So adding that relevance, your wish list may look a little bit different, but it's certainly there. And then there's that emotional weight that brings positivity to the brand as well. So all in all, it's a wonderful story, and the creative is also seen to be unique and heartwarming key markers for ads that are going to break through. But as you guys have spoken about in brand role and some of those assets that should be used, it's a key watch out. You want to make sure the brand is in the story. Here, I think consumers are getting it, but it is certainly a watch out to make sure that that drama doesn't take over for the brand.
It's really interesting as well about how the person, the audience, almost feels empowered in each of these ads, right? The brand facilitates it, but ultimately it's the people that are using them or that it aids, who are really the hero in the end. And I think that's great. That's true of most great advertising, but particularly true when it comes to Christmas. And we all want to be heroes at Christmas.
Definitely.
I think the fourth driver sometimes we see is the power of simplicity, Megan. That can sometimes be a good thing or a difficult thing to master.
Yes, exactly. So we talk about brands, we talk about having a story, a drama, but it's crucial that all of them are conveyed in a simplistic way, because if we are too crowded, there is no way that consumers will be able to at least keep watching the ad. And we know that when we have ads with vignettes, then we have more characters, we have more scenes, we have more settings. We tend to create more cognitive load, so we tend to ask more mental resources for consumers, and they tend to switch off. And actually having longer ads, it doesn't guarantee that that the ads will be more remembered. In fact, it creates additional demand for consumers that they don't get bored. And the example that I want to illustrate is with Lego. Lego, personally, it's a copy that I completely engage emotionally, but the fact that it's long, it's 2 minutes long, it has a lot of vignettes, many scenes. As a matter of fact, it has 45 cuts. We have 10 hero kits, and we have countless of characters. So simply, consumers, they switch off, and whether you are a super fan of Lego or you're simply a viewer, the brand attention is at stake. So simplicity is key.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree more, and I was a bit disappointed actually seeing the performance of Lego. But yeah, they just overdid it and they went for too much complexity. And maybe let's speak about the fifth driver, which is particularly important in this year's Christmas, which is the power of context. Because we always say that context is queen and context is important, and that's important for advertising to understand the context in which people are. And this year, when you think about Christmas, it's Christmas which collides with heavy crisis, the COVID crisis. And the question we had is, should brands acknowledge this particular context of Christmas this year? And when we asked people about their expectations about Christmas advertising this year, they did say that they wanted to be happy, entertained, and relaxed. So they didn't really spontaneously mention that they wanted to be reminded of this coronavirus context and crisis. But guess what? When we looked at the results of all these pieces of creative that we researched in the US and the UK, Tesco, Coles, Amazon are leading the pack, and they are the ones who are in some way relating to coronavirus.
Yeah, there really is a difference between making an ad about coronavirus and making an ad about what your life is now. And I think that's the key difference in why Kohl's and Amazon were able to use their brand within the context of how people are living currently, that makes it successful, because it adds that relevance and adds that personal touch that isn't there in some of the coronavirus ads or COVID time ads that are just talking about how tough times are or why things are different. It's really talking about how to get through those times in the best way.
Yeah, and it becomes authentic for people to relate to. I think that some of the brands you're mentioning, Tyler, maybe oversold themselves a little bit at the beginning of the crisis, and that a bit of authenticity then disappears. So I think we've had 5 really cool drivers. So the power of you with Eleanor, use your distinctive assets, the power of brand role, as you said, Arno, critical to add to a meaningful role. We had Tyler, you talk about drama and storytelling. That's key as always. It's not something just for Christmas, but Christmas seems to be a time when it's really important. And Megan, I loved your example of simplicity. 45 cuts is a lot to digest for sure. And the last point, context is queen, as you said, at this point. So where does that leave us with the winner of the selection of ads we decided to assess in our Solution Creative Spark? It really is Amazon. And we believe Amazon is indeed this year's winner on all of the elements that we looked at. So emotional, it's entertaining, had all of those 5 key drivers that made it such a fabulous ad that's relevant for the time, the crisis that we're in, but also to bring a bit of joy to people's lives, keep them entertained and happy. And so it performed really well in both markets, the US and UK. Been spoken a lot, by the way, about in the media as well. I would say the last point, Coke did, even though it wasn't the winner in our ranking, in our analysis, Coke did a pretty good job with its using the power of you and its distinctive assets in the truck, which is obviously an advantage they've always had. But yeah, that's it from us. Thanks very much for listening, and thanks to you guys for chatting on this version of Creative Corner.
And Merry Christmas, right?
Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
See you in 2021, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Right.
Bye.